I want to take a couple of minutes and talk to you about something that's very important to me. It's called legacy. You may not have one. You may not even know what it is, but I want you to have it. So I want to tell you a little about just one facet of how it has worked in my life. Years ago, I came across a book. I was recommended to me. It's called The Richest Man in Babylon by George Clayson. It's a classic. This is one of the first editions. It's probably the first book I read that righted my mind about finances, about money, about living in a way that you can grow and sustain. What happened is, if I go back generations, it's going to be 6. A man named John Mack Casey was my great-grandfather. And he started something that he had no idea where it was going to go. That's why I want you to get this, because what you're doing now is going to have such an impact in the future. John Mack Casey, born in the late 1800s, died in 1964, so I never got to really know him. I was 4 when he died. I have here his spectacles. This is what Grandpa Casey, my great-grandfather, that's what he looked through. That's what he saw. So think of that as, this is how you see something. And I want you to notice this. This is one of my prized possessions. This is John Mack Casey's billfold. Back in that time, they would even call it a change purse. This is probably 130 years old, probably somewhere in there. Look how worn it is. There's a hole right there. That little white patch, that's the gum off of a sticky thing. And I always wondered what it was. And then I opened it. And on the inside of this purse, John Mack Casey put a Band-Aid. Scripture says you don't have money because you have a purse, a bag, a billfold with holes in it. The scripture says, so no matter how much you get, you don't keep it because you haven't taken the time to repair the holes. And this is my legacy. So when I learned about this started making sense to me. Now, watch what happens. John Mack Casey has this. He has a son-in-law who is Ira Jones. This is my grandfather. My grandfather started a church in Houston in 1948. Just he and my grandmother, Dorothy, they just had 13 kids and they just brought a church in. I mean, it wasn't easy, but they stuck with it. John Mack Casey is his father-in-law. From there, this is Franklin Jones. This is our bishop. This is my father, obviously. Very young, evangelist, very idealistic, hopeful for the future, trying to carry on the legacy, his grandfather and then his father, and now he's doing this. And because of his faithfulness, something that's hard sometimes to imagine is where you'll be in the future with legacy. But let me show you. This is my father as an older man. Dad was already fighting prostate cancer here. This is a service, an altar call. And he's the bishop, and he's on the front row with his head bowed, carrying on a legacy. I want you to have a legacy. From him, it comes to me and my brother, and how we are leading the church and what we're trying to do. I have children. I'm trying to pass that legacy to them. Here's one of the coolest photos. This is my father, probably within a couple of years at the end of his life, and that's Spencer. That's his grandson. I'm now with Spencer. We're 4 generations away from the man who started patching the billfold to make the legacy. It wasn't much, it wasn't a lot, it was being careful with it. So here you have this, and then from here we begin to see not only me, but here's my son, and there's my granddaughter. And then here is my daughter and my grandson. 6 generations of legacy, trying to teach him, trying to teach her, telling them what's important, telling them what matters to me, telling them about their heritage. Now you might say, I don't have that. I'm the first one in my family that's a Christian. Then you get to set the pace. You get to be the first. Or if you've had it for a long time, capitalize on it. Spend some time on it. Research it. Talk about the good. Pass it to your family. It's called roots, and it gives them a strong foundation when the storms of life come. I want you to have a legacy. Our church, for 54 years, my dad, my mom, they were here, they led. Mom went to glory. Look at this last photo. This is a photograph of my mother, my wife, and my granddaughter, all with their hands raised, all worshiping God. You can do this. You got this. It's a legacy. You're at the right place, at the right time. Grab these values. Hold on to what's important. You are going to be the difference maker, the change maker in your family. I love you, and I pray for you all the time.